Okay, so here we are the next day after having put out those last two videos on the back end. You can see here I've actually put one of the wings on here, which is looking okay, and it's sitting not too badly front to back and so on, but I've got an almighty gap here which I can actually fit a finger in. Okay, so I've got to look at closing that, but to do that I need to flex that quite hard, and it means that the front end here and the back end are sitting, you know, face on to the shroud. So I've got I guess a curve which is giving me that gap. So you can see here at the front end I'm closed, at the back end I'm fairly well closed, and so this fellow here needs some work so that I'm not stressing to have to pull it over. And yes, I can get the screws to pull it all in and make it tight, but I'd rather not do that with all that stress that's required. So this means that I'm going to need to take it to the men's shed on Thursday. It's in a couple of days, and might throw it on the English wheel to try and increase that curvature here in this area here, to try and get it to lie flat. So I'll pull that off, take it in my ute, and try and do some work on that to close it off. Because this is sort of, apart from starting the car and getting it running, this is sort of where I'm at, is to put all the outside panels on. You can see there I've got my door. That's this panel, by the way, has been welded all down here, having come out of snow country in Seattle, Washington State, and the door as well. That's had a lot of work done on it, welding wise, but there's still a little bit of work that's required. So in the next couple of days I'll be putting the door on, and then the rear shroud, the rear wing on the left side as well. And then I'll take these up to the shed and do the appropriate work that's required on each of the individual pieces. This shroud here, fine. Yes, I've got holes and I've got little dings here and there, and I've done actually quite a bit on that. It's all been stripped, but I've still got some work to do on that as well. So that's sort of cleaning up required. Most of that I can do here, but we do have an English wheel at the shed which we made actually just as a project one day. It took a couple of weeks, but we'll give it a spin on that. Alright, so otherwise that might actually sit quite well if I didn't have to stress it as much as what I thought. Okay, nothing else for the moment. On this side I haven't put any of the sides on because it's a much tighter squeeze here to get in and out. Alright, let's leave that at that, and then come back on this one. And I guess that's where we're going next, is to for the next video, is the repair work or the straightening work that's or the curvature work that's required on this panel. Alright, okay. Well, good morning. Here we are at the main shed. Sorry about all the extra noise, but I'll see how this comes through. Otherwise I'll have to narrate it separately. So I've got this panel sitting on a bench, sitting flat on all this side. That's sitting flat, and then My problem is that I've got this curve that I mentioned on the car. So, and if I measured that in the middle here, it's actually reading about, you can see that, about 25 mil. So I've got an inch too high. Now I'm not sure as to why I've got this bow in it, but my thinking is that if I use an English wheel, try and bring that around, and what I'll do is I'll just give it a few goes and just see if I'm reducing that, to see if I'm heading in the right direction at all. Okay, so that's the plan at the moment. I think I might have to turn the sound off because it's just too noisy here. Okay, let's go to the English wheel and have a look and see how we go. Okay, so I'm back on the bench on that. That was just after a little bit of rolling just in this area here, and the gap went from 25 mil down to about 21 mil. So it means I'm heading in the right direction. So I think I need to just wheel that a bit more on this area here, which will hopefully increase that curve and then bring it down a bit more. Even if I don't go down all the way, that's fine, but if I can come down a good portion of that without having to stress the panel, that'd be really great. Alright, we'll come back to this and give it another go. This is one of my mates. This is Slav. He's, yes, and over there, yeah, and there's John. Okay, say hello, John. You're in the dark. Come out of the dark.
Hello, you.
Yep, that's great. All right, let's see if I can edit that in. Well, good morning. It's one of those mornings again. Weather's been really good, cold but okay. Been working on the quarter panel a bit, and I did a little bit at the shed, but I had a lot of trouble at the shed using the English wheel. So I took this panel home, so I'm going to have to bring you in a bit closer and just show you what the issue is I've got with it. So just getting straight into it again. Okay, so this is the quarter panel, left front, and I've been wheeling it to get some of these ridges out. You know, I can feel little dips in it, but there's a really big down dip here, and I'll show you here with this straight edge. You can see there it looks good, and you see the gap. You can see the gap there. Okay, from about there to there. And it stops about there. Also, at the end, you can see I've got a bit of curling down. Now it happens right down all the way. So you can see from that I'm all over the place with this panel. It has been patch repaired here, and I put a whole new section in right along there, which was TIG welded. That's why you might not see it very well. Okay, so I wheeled it to try and increase the to help the curvature, which you've probably I'll show you that. But this thing here, this big dip down, I've been trying everything. I've tried flaming it. Okay, you can see all the flame marks. Yes, it comes up, but it settles back down again. And also I've been flaming it here to try and lift it to come up. My problem is I'm really not that good at this sort of work, but what I do know is that the panel is unacceptable the way it is. I mean, I can't fill that. And the dip is probably about, I don't know, about 8 millimeters there in the middle. Now, when I did wheel this the other day at the shed, I managed to pull to straighten that. It was out by, if I had to say, 20 millimeters, and I've taken that back down to 10, which is really good. Okay, so as you remember, it was bowing out, and I pulled that back in about 10, 12, even 13 odd mil. But I've got this big dip in the middle, and I just don't know what to do with it. And I suspect at this stage I'm just not clever enough to know how to get that out. And I think what's responsible is this cutout here. Okay, and that's sort of distorting any of the work that I'm trying to do to get it back. If it was just a panel with a this ridge line here, this little what would you call it, a little crease that follows that, and then that's fine. What I did here yesterday, I sharpened this crease, okay, with a chisel and just hammering it to try and sharpen it. Maybe that would bring it up, and that's fine. That's got a much sharper definition, but it doesn't solve the issue because it's still as you can see, my daylight starts right about there, okay, which is only about 1.5 inches, 2 inches from that the cut edge, and about 1.5 inches from that seam that I've got there, that little bit of that folded seam that's there. So I did manage. It was actually far worse, and I've reduced it, yes, but I've got this, and I'm at my wit's end as to know what to do with it. And then I thought yesterday, I thought maybe I could just make a little L-shaped bracket, and then spot weld it to the inside to straighten it, and for this. That would do it quickly, but and then well, I'd have to go back. Just bear with me. I'd have to go back to here. Let me just come around the other side of that. You can sort of see my burn marks there, okay, but it's just sitting way too high. Okay, so if I have a little you know, 10 by 15 mil L-shaped bracket that I could just spot into here, certainly that would straighten it, and then do the same just along here. That would straighten it, but is that a good thing to do? Okay, so what I mean by the ribs underneath, if you have a look, I've just got a bit of temporary tube just sitting up under there, okay? So if you make out that that's a strip of metal, I'd be using 16 gauge, you know, bent at, you know, 15 by 15, 90 degrees, and then spot welded that along there. You can see the, you know, I mean, that's good enough for you know, painting and just filling with a normal spray filler, and grinding that flat. And also this part here is reduced somewhat, so that's only about 3 millimeters there now, whereas was quite a bit more before. I think I said 8. So if I put a rib there and a rib here, I think that would work. Now the only thing is that the experts would poo-poo that, but to me it solves a lot of issues. And as I said, it's you would never see it. It's on the inside. It's not a big rib, and that would pretty much solve my issues with it. So before I do that, though, I'd be interested to know what anybody can tell me, what they think. Go ahead and do it, or no, persevere a bit more. So a bit of advice, I guess, is what I'm looking for. Okay, let's leave it at that for the moment.